What is going on, guys? Today we are looking at another attacking rankers list. So we're going to go through a lot of the new cards. We have completely got rid of a lot of cards from the previous one. So if there's somebody missing or somebody you'd like to see as well, make sure you check out the previous versions, as they more than likely was in there. If we just keep adding, we'll have hundreds upon hundreds of cards that obviously we have discussed before. So I've kind of gone with the most relevant cards and also the top tier cards. We've still obviously got the Grinchas, we've still got a Del P in there, a Georgie Best. We have got a lot of cards that were here, as you can see, with Lauan and Haaland, who have been upgraded that were previous versions, and SBCs from the past. I think we've got about 50 or so cards that we're going to go through, a lot of them being new because we have had a big bunch in this World Cup. So let's jump in and see what we can get on with. If you're looking for coins, coaching, boosting service, head over to skycoach.gg, go into your order now, make sure that you hit the promotional code, type in JT, and get yourself 10% off any services on skycoach.gg. So I think it's only fair to start with two of the massive cards this year. So we have got obviously the World Cup icon R9, and we also have the Pele. So these two cards genuinely are incredible. We've used Pele. We actually haven't seen this R9 as of yet. And if we do go over to Footbin, if we can just quickly go here, we'll put that in full screen. You've obviously got the R9 here at 9.5 mil. Just absolutely ridiculous price, but again, that is going to be what it is. We've still got his prime to come, which hopefully the price might be a little bit cheaper, just because really, yes, he's going to be a very low supply but a high demand in terms of people actually wanting him. But in terms of, we've already got a version that is very close. As you can see, only a couple of 2s and 1s on the upgrade, but it is prime R9 that everybody's going to love. If then we look at just Pele quickly, we won't do this for absolutely everybody as we'll be here all day. 5.5 mil, again, a massive card, plus 1s and 2s on his 98, which is crazy to say that he goes up a 2 overall just on plus 1s and 2s, but again, that is just how it works. So a very nice selection of the first two, and we don't really stop there because we have got a lovely Cruyff and also a Eusebio that are both absolutely brand new, both again very similar in terms of the upgrade from a Pele and R9 as well. Both of them coming in at high prices, which we'll have a look for now. They are coming in at a whopping, Cruyff is 3.8 mil and Eusebio is 3.5. So we've got absolutely massive price tags across the board there. We've got about, what, so 9... What did Pele? 5? So you've got about nearly 20 million coins worth of cards just in them 4. If we're then looking at a few of the other World Cup icons, ignore Figo twice, fire the editor 100%, but we do have Butragueno, we have Crespo, Figo, Eto'o, and Drogba. Some big names going in there. Drogba, probably a month or two ago with the Lanfia meta, would have been a card that would be worth millions, absolutely millions, because the pace, the lengthy, the shooting, the physical is going to be absolutely nuts on that card. He is a 4-star, 5-star as well, which is actually really solid. We got Eto'o at 2.3. He again a 4-star, 5-star with more of an explosive standpoint that you can go on him. He is originally on the controlled. Figo 968 as well, and then finally we have Butra at 105, and then Crespo, I was thinking then, what's the name? He's at 140. There is actually one person who I thought I had in here, but I don't. We've missed Van Persie's World Cup icon. He was or is an SBC coming in at 368. A solid card, so I am very disappointed that I've missed him. But again, Van Persie, another good striker. SBC-wise, I probably still wouldn't complete him, just purely on the fact that that is a lot of cards to put in with how much fodder that has been taken away with all of these icon packs, heroes, Messi, other just generic SBCs. I think Van Persie would be more of a grinder where we've got 30-40 days to get him done, and maybe got him done there, but even then I'd still think he's not necessarily at that top level. If we are looking at these in front of us, though, I think Eto'o definitely deserves to go in that S. If I'm looking at Drogba, I would probably say AS right now. I think in terms of what you can get out of him, you've definitely got a solid card. He would 100% have been S if the lengthy meta was still a thing. But because it has been not necessarily nerfed fully, he still is a very good card. But the lengthy meta is not as effective as obviously we once knew in the first month and a half of the game. Crespo, unfortunately, in terms of him, I feel like he is dropping down to the B. Butra's definitely, I'd say on the fringe of S. He is definitely AS, but I'd say on the fringe of it. Figo, I do like him as a cam personally, and that is a position that you can go with. I do think, how tall is he? He's 5'11", so he's got a good height on him, 91 pace. Good shooting, good passing, dribbling. I'd say AS. I think looking at that, we've used previous versions of him, and I think definitely he's going to get the benefit of the doubt today. If then we look at a few of the one-to-watches, these are predominantly cards that haven't got another card as of yet. Obviously, Lawan has got 292s, but the one to watch is going to be the more favored as it can go up, obviously. Anthony, unfortunately, hasn't had another one, but he's got his max rated now, so he now needs informs, team of the group stage. He needs something to bump that rating up, or obviously, he gets a different version. And then Haaland is unfortunately not in the World Cup, so we haven't had anything of him yet. He has taken a month break, and it will be crazy if he manages to get to 99 first, with obviously a whole month and a half, kind of near 2 months of just no football for him in that ability to get another card, unless he's going to get obviously a non-performance based. But again, 3 solid cards. They've come from low ratings. Anthony was 82 or 81. Lawan was still about a 90, I believe, and Haaland started at 88 as well. So big upgrades for them right now. Anthony's coming in at 310. Haaland's coming in at 1.1 mil, and then we also have Lawan coming in at 180. And judging from that, I should have one more somewhere. Darwin Núñez as well. 86 rated now, 139k. Probably a cheap version of Haaland at this point, but most definitely none really to look over. Lawan was better with the lengthy meta. Unfortunately, it has dropped down a little bit now, and I'd probably go A for him. I think Anthony has had a big upgrade from the 82 to the 86. I still think he needs just that little bit more help. If we do have a quick look at the footbin side of it with him, he definitely is a solid card. 5-star, 3-star. Would love a foot birthday to make him 5-5. Even if it gets into 88 to 90, that is going to be a cracking card down the wing. Now we have that explosive increase to do better. That is going to really pump this card up. I personally at the moment would put him A. I think he's very close to that AS, but I do think he needs at least, I'd say, a +2, and then we're looking at a very good winger. But hopefully it's not too late with obviously all of the other wingers we are getting every single day. Núñez definitely in that AS now. Haaland is 100% S. He is still an absolute freak in nature on this game, so definitely a solid card to be looking out in the future as well. And obviously Núñez can now get informs to get his rating up. With obviously the addition of this week, we have got the World Cup stories, and these are the select few that I've gone for in terms of kind of relevancy now. And I think some of them have got a massive price tag in obviously Richarlison and Rashford. 600k for the Brazilian and 965 for Rashford. And the annoying thing is with Richarlison, as a lot of people have stated over the kind of few days that we've had him, we've already got an 86 that we got for free with an objective. So now we've got a 600k card that potentially the one to watch will get up to, and you've not had to pay a penny for. So for me, I think it is just massively supply isn't high on this card, so that is why his price is that little bit more. Plus obviously the kind of the news around Brazil at the moment. They've just absolutely smashed South Korea 4-1. All of them playing really well. He had a beautiful goal in the group stage with that kind of flick up overhead. Beautiful. So he's definitely in more of a news kind of factor rather than actually him being the best striker on the game. That being said, I think definitely Richarlison's going in that AS. The pace is good, the passing is okay, shooting's pretty decent, dribbling's good, and he's got physical. He's got an all-round game, and he is a 4-star, 5-star, so definitely coming in at that top level. Rashford himself has got to be in the S. We've used him. He is a beautiful card, 5-star, 4-star, runs down the wing perfectly, but also has the option to be your standalone striker and definitely deliver the goal. And then we've got a couple more. I think for me, Bale is so effective for how cheap he is. I was kind of rating him between about 100 and 150k once we used him, and honestly, he has surpassed all expectations, being 87k at 91 rated. This guy is a cracking super sub. He doesn't necessarily have the greatest links. MLS, you could obviously go for Donovan and Dempsey if you wanted to make a kind of hybrid. I just don't think the players that you could link him with are they're not necessarily going to be in main teams right now, unless you are kind of building an RTG, you are building maybe an MLS squad and you're going all the way through FIFA with that, then definitely this card has got to be on that bucket list. But I think even as a super sub, just picking this guy up is an absolute gem. His pace is good, shooting's fantastic, dribbling's nice, and he has a 4-star freestyle. So unfortunately, not on the weak foot, but most definitely is not one to go against. And I think in terms of a super sub, AS is 100%. And then we have Giroud, who was in obviously the mini release on Sunday. Again, not a bad striker. Again, lengthy would have been really, really good for him, but unfortunately that has been taken out. But a nice target man for the Serie A. The only problem with having a Giroud card right now is, unfortunately, there is a lot of kind of hold-up strikers in the Serie A. You've got Immobile with an inform, you've got Dzeko with a rule breaker, you've got Keane as a player of the month, there is Vlahovic as an inform, and finally there is Lukaku with his path to glory. There's a lot of cards with the same sort of attributes, the same body build, the same kind of play style, and that is going to be where Giroud is kind of just amongst the crowd. Obviously, people will have their favourites. Giroud is coming in with a 4-star, which is not bad, and I think in general, I think A would suit him down to the ground. Then we have Asensio, 89 rated. He has come from a right wing to a striker, and he can obviously be right wing and centre forward other than the striker position. Great pace, great dribbling, good shooting, passing's okay on this card, and I think definitely in terms of the explosive nature, which I believe you can get on the card, you can't, so it is always controlled. That's interesting. So obviously with the engine, as we'll show you here, we have obviously got the, where is it gone, engine there. That's going to be for the agility balance, which A6 A4 isn't bad. You definitely can go more. As a striker, I'd probably just go straight out Hunter. I know that's what obviously everybody's picking here. I think Hunter would gotta be the way to go. 98 pace, 92 shooting. I think that for me would be better than going the engine, unless you are obviously going for the right wing for him. If you're using him as a striker, you've got to go with that Hunter. 84 finishing in front of goal is just unfortunately not going to be enough. 92 does scream a lot better. You could 91 pace on the base already. You could go finisher. If you're desperate for agility balance, you obviously max out your finishing then. You've already got a great amount of pace, so there is a few options. Engine for the wing, finisher or hunter for striker, and you've got yourself a pretty solid card for what, 225k. For me, I think that is a pretty good deal, and I would be going in that AS. So we have got Alphonso Davies next. 87 rated, can still be a left back, but he has had a big upgrade on his shooting. From his 84 card, he's had a plus 14 on the shooting, plus 3 on the defending and physical, so a nice little upgrade all round. I think with this card, it depends on what you want, because I think he's definitely geared towards more attacking, obviously with the massive shooting increase, but he has got some defensive ability as well. If you wanted to go with maybe the Sentinel, you still get the 86 defending and 84 physical, but if you go for the finisher, you get 89 shooting, 94 dribbling, and does turn him into a 91 left wing or an 89 rated striker. Again, a nice little shapeshifter sort of position. Obviously for Canada, he is very much more attacking, so it is an interesting one to see where you'd go with this card. I personally would 100% go with the left wing. I think his pace is going to be so good on this version, and he's coming in at 240, which again isn't a bad price, and he'll stick in that AS for the surprise sort of left wing. Then we have Ginola. Again, it doesn't need much really for him. He is going straight into that S, still sitting in at 1.6 million coins, which is crazy with obviously how many hero upgrades we've had, World Cup and hero upgrades, because obviously he doesn't have a World Cup hero. I can imagine they will do more things with these heroes. We had captains last year's as well as shapeshifter. I can imagine they will come again to obviously finish off the remainders that didn't get themselves a World Cup hero. So I can imagine Ginola will get that striker version once more, which again was a silly card. This version is 100% a striker. You know the drill with him. You come against him, he's going to try and score probably 90% of the time. Because we have done a lot of these icons, what we're going to do is we're just going to pick them out of here, because like I say, if you want the full explanation for every single one, we have done it on multiple tier lists. So we're just going to briefly just put them in as and where we think they will be right now. There is obviously a few here that there is not all of them. There is definitely some forwards that have not been added, purely for the fact that they are predominantly A below tier. I think AS and S, we've got every single one, and we're just going to start filtering them in. I cannot pronounce that apparently, but we've obviously got Puskás, Jarzinho, Garincha, all absolutely incredible. Gerd Muller, again, another solid striker, new to this game. And the big thing we're going to have for the next attacking tier list is obviously the primes should, and I say should, be in the game by now, because I believe last year I started doing reviews on them on about the 12th of December, so most definitely we should have them by now, at least by the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we'll have a whole brand new selection that we will obviously run through in terms of these icons, so that should be a nice little extra bonus for you. And I think Henry this year has been such a hit and miss with what I've seen. When I've used him, he's been absolutely incredible. When I've come up against him, there's always a 50-50, and again, that could be the level of the player, but I think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and go with the S, and I do think that is kind of where my icons sit at the moment. Oh, and we missed a lonely Stoichkov over here. Get yourself an AS, kid. So we've got the remainders of some cards now. Obviously, a couple SBCs as well in here. We've obviously got Barkley, we've got Keane, both SBCs. I think, cannot remember if Ansu Fati was an SBC. I feel like he was. Let me have a look, actually, because I'm pretty sure he actually was an SBC, but my mind's going absolutely blank with him. He was an SBC. I thought so. We've got SBC. I think where's Morientes was an SBC. Higuain was obviously an SBC. Ribery, that is not the... I wanted the end of era, to be honest, but both versions are pretty much the same. We have an SBC Ribery and obviously the end of era, and then we've got the rule breaker that came at the start. Messi's obviously an SBC, and I think that covers all the bases for all of the SBCs that we've got in these kind of cards. So again, some very different selections. The one that I didn't think that I'd see the most, Morientes is in so many teams, it is absolutely unbelievable. And honestly, he does an absolute job in that role. So again, a very nice card. Personally, he wouldn't have been the first option I'd have gone for, but most definitely from what I've seen against him, and obviously playing a few games with him, I think AS is definitely where he's suited. I think the problem with Robbie Keane was he was just far too expensive. If we kind of have a look between the two cards, we obviously have Morientes coming in, and I'm pretty sure he wasn't that expensive. I could be totally wrong, 174. But then we look at Keane, in general, World Cup hero, 1.1 mil. Obviously, it is dependent on when you look at the market. I think the icon pack's out now, so everything should be expensive. But if we look at these SBCs and flip the cards, you have an 89, 88, 87, 86, 5, and 84. That is absolutely just ridiculous, because for that value of cards, obviously untradables, you could go and buy a gold Mbappe, and I tell you, I would still prefer the Mbappe regardless of the card. You could go get pretty much most of these cards, bar from maybe the top few icons, and still have the same amount of a Robbie Keane. Not saying he's not good, but most definitely not worth 1.1 million. Not in terms of SBC value, because you got to think how much that takes you back in terms of cards for new SBCs, for the Messi that came out, for the Morientes that came out. Then obviously we've got the Barclays, we've got other icons, Van Persie, we've then got just the generic party bags. That would have put the club back so much, it's unreal. Messi for me, I think is 100% got to go in that S, and as we've got Messi there, we may as well go and throw this Messi in. With these two, the flashback has been absolutely crazy. Like with a lot of these flashbacks from the top level, from the Neymars to the CR7s to the Contes that we got, they are just beautiful cards, because naturally their normal card is really good, and because their animations work, even if you have a slight amount of everything in there, like we know his shooting's not necessarily as the top tier, because his animations are really good, that doesn't matter as much. We can go and whack the hunter on him to give him the pace. We've already got good dribbling at 91, not necessarily 97, but most definitely nothing to be sniffed at. And then the passing, to be honest, I play him as a striker, so he does an absolute job there anyway. And then we have Higuain. Again, lengthy meta when he came out was just a joke. Still a very good card and nice to put in that MLS team, especially if you are looking for that Bale. I think right now he's lost a little bit of kind of pizzazz just because that lengthy has been knocked down, but most definitely still can be relevant in this game. Same with Barkley. The only reason I personally did him, which I think he was quite expensive actually, in terms of the SBC at the time and with how much we had out, he was actually a little bit expensive at, okay, maybe not, 100k. So he actually probably was quite cheap. Are you sure? There is no way. Unless it was just for, at the time it might have been expensive. An 85, 84, 83. I suppose it's not that expensive in the looks of a Keane or an Icon. Obviously it's not that much, but I suppose 3 teams, it's still a lot if you've not got necessarily the league SBCs to constantly fill that club back up. And then I'm interested then with Ansu Fati. I think he was a little bit more expensive than Barkley. He was in obviously the same one, 317k. That makes more sense. An 87, 86, and 84. Again, a good player that will go in that AS. And like I say, with these sort of tier lists, at the moment we are trying to focus more on the top tier. And then we have the World Cup heroes. So obviously with these, they have been out. We have actually done a full tier list on, I think, a lot of them. I think maybe we missed Okocha, I want to say, because there was some that weren't added in or weren't kind of leaked to say they were coming out until the second team, where they added a Joe Cole. They added, I want to say, Lundberg, who now have the original pictures from when they first was added into the heroes. But then we have the beast that is El Warren. Honestly, if you've not seen this guy against you, I don't know where you've been, because he is in every single person's team. Honestly, everyone must have him because he naturally is just absolutely everywhere. And if we want to take a quick look, in fact, on people's prices, if we go for the World Cup heroes and we go into the attackers, you can see in terms of pricing, we are still looking at the Robbie Keane at the top level. We've then got Okocha, who is a 5-star, 4-star, a very good cam / striker if you wanted him there. Voler at 789. Then we have El Warren at 750. Diego Forlan 620. Govu. As you can imagine, the prices are that little bit inflated purely for the fact that obviously these are not packable anymore. There is no World Cup Heroes impacts. The only way that you can get these is if they release another World Cup Heroes SBC. So unfortunately they aren't taking over the new versions, as obviously the mids, the bases and the primes obviously follow soon. But unfortunately I would have thought that would have been the case, maybe having a few, or at least the ones that you can get in packs, just stay in packs over their normal base cards. Because even though El Warren is really good in both versions, I will be gutted to get the 85 right mid rather than this 88 absolute masterpiece. So again, there is a few downfalls to these, but I'm hoping they are kind of every so often really upping these heroes, because I think they're a great idea and maybe something that they go for instead of the icons. I know we've had the World Cup icons this year, but most definitely we normally just have the base, mids, primes, no different versions. They're exactly the same each year. The only thing that changes is the fact of the meta. Whereas these heroes, we've now got a left mid Cole, we've obviously got a centre forward Harry Kewell, we then have a Govu that's a cam. Even with the alternative positions, they can change. It's nice to have that base version that maybe has a tailored stat. If we've got a right back instead of a centre back, we know that there's going to be more emphasis on the right back card rather than the centre back just being a bit of pace, heavy on that physical and heavy on that defending. It's just a nice different sort of vibe from the cards, and we get to have basically upgraded versions of them. In terms of these then, Harry Kewell is 100% going in the S. He is a monster of a card. The first hero I did this year, and no regrets whatsoever. We've got to go Okocha in the S. He was just a dribbling masterpiece. Great dribbling on him. Voler was a striker and a half. I'd say Cole this year is definitely not as relevant as what I've seen last year. Last year he was an absolute gem in his normal hero version. This year is still good, but most definitely not in that top bracket. Forlan, AS 100%. Brolin, we've managed to get every single version of him in our pre-order. It's a shame that we don't have any more because I could do with somebody else, and Govu is going in the S. So I suppose it's about time to get the two done. I've noticed that they're both here, Neymar and Mbappe. We'll throw in a cheeky CR7 as well. We've done Messi. Obviously, these three are fantastic. Ronaldo, not as much this year, to be honest. I feel like there's definitely just a little bit of negativity around him at the moment, which is a bit unfortunate. Obviously, being a Manchester United fan myself, it is what it is. He's done it. He's moved. Whatever. We move on. But in terms of FIFA card, I definitely want to see a better version. Whether that's now going to happen, the fact that he is, well, I believe it's been confirmed he's moving to Saudi Arabia. I don't personally see him getting another card, maybe an end of era, but again, it depends on if it's in the Prem or if it's obviously in Saudi. So unfortunately, he may have stuffed himself in terms of FIFA. I'm sure he really cares. But in terms of the other two, Mbappe is just Mbappe. 93 rated already, 4.7 million coins. That is a crazy card. Obviously, Team of the Year is right around the corner. As soon as World Cup finishes, we are going to be really kind of going down to the deadline day for Team of the Year, and I can imagine Mbappe's got to be in it. Maybe we see an 11th Neymar or 12th Neymar, sorry. It'll be interesting to see where he fits. He's definitely had a good start to the season. Whether the cutoff point is at the point of where he potentially wasn't, maybe next year could be the year for him, but I'm definitely gunning for a Team of the Year Neymar at some point. I think out of respect, S has always got to be the way, as naturally, if you are a dribbler on this game, you can unlock Neymar's full potential in this game just because he is naturally so good on the ball, very quick on the turning, and just a phenomenal player. And all jokes aside with CR7, I still really like him on the game. He isn't necessarily what he once was, and definitely with a few more upgrades, we will be seeing him again in people's teams. But for the 91, I think he's just scraping the S at this point. I think the pace definitely needs a big upgrade, which the Hunter will do. We end up with 91 pace and about 93 or 94 shooting. So still a fantastic card to say the least. I just think the end of Ronaldo is coming in terms of FIFA cards. And then we finish off then, because we've got a few left. Smolarek is actually left here, and I don't know why, but I think it's purely for the fact that he knows he's already in that S. That card is an absolute joke for 500k. I would pay 1 million coins for him. He is just unreal on the ball. 100% take the advice with that. Check out the video before. In fact, whilst we're here as well, we may as well get rid of the C. We're going to really bump this down to the best of the best, so you can obviously see where I'm personally rating the top end players, because I think in terms of strikers especially and forwards, I'd happily put a 10 million budget on my forwards rather than my defenders first. So I definitely think that the forwards are more important to get as well as the defenders, but I'd put more emphasis, and I think a lot of people will do that with obviously the forwards. And I think looking at Vinny, he's obviously getting an upgrade as well, I believe on Wednesday, because they've just beat South Korea, so it'll be a 90 rated card, already coming in at a few mil, 3.3 mil. I think that is inflated as well with obviously the win, so I think he was about 2.7 when I last looked, so he has gone up for 500k, and he potentially can keep going up, which is absolutely nuts for that card. Sonny Boy, again, a top tier card. Get him in a striker. I do like him left wing, but for me, Sonny has always been a striker. He is brilliant with his team of the season, and this card definitely will give you them sort of vibes. And then we kind of got a miscellaneous bunch here. We've got a Bide Pele, we've got Di Natale, Aubameyang. Obviously can't be upgraded anymore, but a solid version of him. He will stay in that AS for me. I think if he managed to get another upgrade or something in a road to the knockout version, then definitely a 92, 93 would 100% be sitting in that S. 100. Di Natale, waiting for that captain's version, the shapeshifter, anything for him, because he is again another great Serie A striker. Probably one of the best ones you can get so far. A Bide Pele will always be top tier. Again, a shapeshifter would be lovely for him. Last year we got the 98 left wing. This year we haven't got anything yet, but we did get it very late on in the year prior, so hopefully we get him a little bit sooner. Ribery with the 5-star. There's no other place. Then we come down to the two in Salah and Mane. Just coincidental there. Obviously, ex-teammates. Mane has got himself a one to watch as well, which I believe is 92 also. So he has got a couple of versions you can use, but this is the newest one with the road to the World Cup. Unfortunately, not upgradable. Obviously, didn't go very far in terms of out of the knockouts, but unfortunately for him, didn't manage to play due to an injury. But a stunning player, a left wing that will absolutely give you everything, and I think he's got to be in that AS. Salah, I've not really seen too much. He's got a right wing 92 with an inform and also this out of position striker. Personally, for me, I would 100% go AS, but I could definitely see some people arguing between the S and the AS, but that is personally where it's going to go today. And that is going to be the video. We have got a pretty good selection of cards. Obviously, in 3 to 4 weeks, we will get another attacking tier list with the primes, with any versions of new cards, and we will try and keep this list up to date with the new relevant cards. Obviously, there will always be a few old ones that are just naturally very, very good in the game, like the World Cup icons, like obviously some of the heroes. They will still be in here because we know we can just whack them in. You can obviously check through previous tier lists. We have got them all in a playlist. If you want to go check out, if there's somebody that you really wanted to have a look at, then obviously they are all in there if you want to go back. But that's the tier list today. Make sure you do like and subscribe on this, and I'll catch you all for the next one. Peace.